moron! Hey, moron! Dude! Look at me! I'm the waterboard, dude!
Well, good Sunday morning, friends. Mark Holmes here, of course, with my buddy Cowboy Joe Boo, as well as Joe Bear in the house. And as always, I want to say thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, as well as you ladies, you know that this literally does not work. So let's get open for business and let's wake up those football gods. Happy Mother's Day to all of the wonderful mothers out there. Thank you so much for going through that 9 months of agony and, of course, a lifetime of taking care of, raising us, and being part of our lives. Without you, it really does not work. So make sure you call mom, you give her some flowers, you take her out to eat, give her some candy, do something to recognize what she did for you 365 days a year. Amen on that. Thank you, mothers. So this morning here, I want to revisit something here, okay? You guys know that sometimes I'll get something stuck in my head, okay? It's kind of like when we had Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn, after the Seattle Seahawks won the Super Bowl, in an interview, he talked about his defense being fast and physical. And that was his mantra of what he believes in his defensive philosophy. And I kept playing that clip because that clip, he literally says it 3 times in like 5 minutes. We were fast and physical, so on, and just pounds it into your head. Well, this is one that's the clip that is similar to that, because this came out 2 months ago. This came out before the draft, came out, before free agency. This was Bill Barnwell's blueprint to fixing the boys. And actually, you know what? I need to bring that set. It's funny here. I'm sorry, I digress. But I used to have like a playlist, and I used to call it Fixing the Boys. And that was, how do we fix the cow? I need to bring it back. It was kind of like what I used to always say when I started my morning show was, don't sleep on the Dallas Cowboys, because things happen late in the evening, late at night, first thing in the morning. So you want to be up to speed to everything that is the Dallas Cowboys. And that's when I was the only one really doing morning videos and things. Literally, I've been here so long that it was kind of like nobody was bothering doing a video first thing in the morning. Now you got live streams at 7 o'clock in the morning. Boy, the field has changed and gotten crowded. But this clip on Bill Barnwell is his 5 steps of recovery for the Dallas Cowboys. And I got to say, they are checking everything off on this list. Let's revisit it and see by Bill Barnwell's list of things that the Dallas Cowboys have to do. Let's go to the tape.
You're going to give us a 5-step plan for the Dallas Cowboys to fix them. I'm impressed you can do
Fixing the boys.
5 steps. So fit the bill. Starting with 1. Bill Barnwell, take it away.
Number 1.
Numero uno.
We're re-signing Micah Parsons. This one is easy. He's one of the best defensive players in football, and we're actually going to reduce his cap hit from $24 million on his 5th-year option when we do re-sign Micah Parsons. You're starting there on the defense. Obviously, he's going to get a big contract, but you want to keep your stars around. Dak, CeeDee Lamb, Micah Parsons are your 3 stars on the defensive side of the football. Number 2. We are moving to add some salary cap space here. We're going to restructure Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb. This is going to create, this is not an exaggeration, this is going to create $60 million in cap space for the Cowboys. Those guys are sticking around. They're your core. Whether Cowboys fans like it or not, Dak Prescott's going to be there for years to come. Add the Micah Parsons restructure. We're looking at probably $65 million in cap space. That's a lot of money to work with, and we're going to need it for steps 3, 4, and 5 in this plan. Step 3 for the Cowboys. We are adding help at receiver. The only moves they've made have not worked. Haven't invested much in the draft.
We just did check number 3 off.
Their moves would be veterans. They moved on from Amari Cooper. They traded, or they got rid of a bunch of Brandon Cooks traded for. They got Michael Gallup and re-signed him. That didn't work. Adding a Deebo Samuel to the mix is a big body, physicality the Cowboys have not had in their offense in several years. He's tormented the Cowboys himself. Deebo Samuel would be a great addition as the number 2, not the number 1, but the number 2.
So we got 2.5.
CD Lamb. Number 4, the offensive line needs to be replenished now, especially after Zach Martin was retired.
Checkaruno.
I know Cowboys want to add a guy. Maybe they draft someone. Rico Dowdle's been good. 12th in rushing yards, 4.6 yards per carry last year. But there's a big hole in that offensive line, which is 27th in spending and cash next year.
Tyler Booker in the draft.
Trey Smith, that star Chiefs guard. A plug-and-play replacement for Zach Martin, a big body, a great run blocker in the interior. Cowboys teams have always been good when they have good offensive lines.
That's 3.
Flip it. Number 5. This is not the sexiest option, but we're looking at the defensive line and that defensive tackle rotation. We're looking at pieces here who are going to help us in short yardage. Last year, the Cowboys were not just the worst red zone defense in football, they were the 4th worst red zone defense of the last decade. That's what happens when you cannot stop the run in short yardage. These are not going to be big names. You're looking at guys like Poona Ford from the Chargers, guys who are going to be big bodies, occasionally make plays in the passing game, but who are going to hold up against the run, the Morgan Foxes of the world. Build that depth, build that defensive line, and get the Cowboys strong on the line of scrimmage to help get them back to where they were at
Interesting. I would normally stop it right here, but I was listening to a little bit more of it. This is interesting.
We just fixed the Cowboys.
All right, well.
This is where they clown us.
That's all they
This is where we
do.
get clowned.
That's all?
That's all?
I think they're well on their way. D. Wood.
Yeah.
So I would love to get into all 5 of those, but Bill Barnwell did a great job of it. Yeah. So maybe add number 6. Like, what do you want to see Jerry Jones do this offseason to get them back into the conversation?
Well, Bill had already referenced it. When the Cowboys were good, they were elite in the trenches. So I would start, how about impending free agent and Trey Smith, the guard from the Kansas City Chiefs? You know, when you look at the Kansas City Chiefs offensive line, it was really the interior that was the elite part of that offensive line. So bringing in a guy like Trey Smith to help fortify the Cowboys' interior of their offensive line, I think will go a long way towards rebuilding and reestablishing a line of scrimmage with the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, because when you look at their heyday recently, and by heyday I mean winning the division, making the playoffs, Zach Martin, who just retired, he was out there. They always drafted up front back in the teens of the 2000s and Jeff Darlington. That made them contenders year in and year out for that division. It just hasn't been that way. So in your mind, how close are the Cowboys to going with the 5-step plan and being contenders?
Here we go. Trash this.
Nothing about their last off seasons have suggested that they're willing to be that aggressive. So it's more of a show me situation. Don't tell me about it. I mean, like that was a wonderful presentation, but I felt like I was back in the 8th grade history class where like halfway through it, I was like literally looking down at my phone, scrolling. It was wonderful. It was very interesting, but I just realized, oh my God, the Cowboys have a lot to do.
In 8th grade?
Actually, I'm pretty young. The Nokia 5120, that thing was pretty, we're playing Snake on that thing. Listen, Bill, that was amazing. That was wonderful. But my head hurts for the Cowboys. Yeah. Oh, my God. They have a lot to do. They have a lot to do.
Okay. So here's where, so let's talk about this a little bit more. Okay, so we've got re-signed Micah Parsons. We hear there's a handshake deal with that one. And does anybody actually think that the Cowboys are going to move Micah Parsons' locker over next to Dak Prescott, that he's here, doing workouts and everything else, that he's not going to be here? He will be re-signed. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that, which will be another $10 to $12 million. Number 2, restructure Dak and CD. We can definitely say check that off the list because we did that. And basically, I don't have the exact number of the peak, but I think it was around $55 million that we had. And we still have, or we'll go by him saying 65 and just assume we'll get 10 more from Micah Parsons. So here's where it gets to be crazy, okay, as he's going through the list and they're basically poo-pooing it and saying the Cowboys won't do anything. The Cowboys have $31.9 million right now. And you add to that 10 more additionally. We'll go on the lighter side for Micah Parsons. that means the Cowboys still have $42 million in cap space. All of the moves that the Cowboys have done this offseason, which most of them have been poo-pooed, okay? Most of them have been poo-pooed. And here's the thing that's crazy, and I didn't pull up the numbers, but I should have. I'm sitting here thinking in my mind how the Eagles went crazy when they signed Josh Huff, how incredibly happy and excited everybody was, like, oh, they're adding Josh Huff and everything else, coming off a 10-sack season. They signed him to a $55 million contract. And I think he had 2 or 3 sacks in the season. And they're trying to figure out how to get rid of him. We get Dante Fowler, a guy who's familiar with the Cowboys, who had 10.5 sacks. And most people don't even remember that even happened. Okay, so be that as it may, you brought in a 10.5 sack guy. You've gone through as far as taking care of your defense and let me go down the checklist. Add a offensive lineman to replace Zach Martin. Check. We got Tyler Booker. Definitely the best prospect at guard in the draft. So you got that one. Next, go through. Get another weapon to go next to CD Lamb. Check this past week. And it's not an aging veteran that you're basically renting for a year or two, kind of the thing that we typically do as Cowboy fans. This is a possible guy who, if you can get him to work, you could possibly say we're set at wide receiver for the next 4 or 5 years. You have to pay him, of course, but you still have $42 million right now to work with. Now, we got other players we got to deal with. The last one on that list, I believe, is stopping the run because the Cowboys were atrocious. Now, for most people, they don't think about the players that we brought in. I talked about Dante Fowler, who's a great edge rusher, not necessarily a great run stopper. But the Cowboys have quietly made some moves that don't seem to move the needle. Kenneth Murray, who was a team captain for the Tennessee Titans, is brought in at linebacker. You also got another guy who your defensive coordinator loves, in Jack Sanborn. You ended up bringing in a Solomon Thomas. These are moves that will help your defense. And, of course, you've got another great edge rusher potentially in Donovan Easy. And you have other guys to throw in the mix that are trying to fight for their football lives coming back from injury, Sam Williams. So to look at where we were last year this time when we weren't making moves and, the clowning that we got was because the Cowboys ain't going to show you anything like we got from those guys, is not working the same way. This year, the Cowboys have made move after move after move. And when you think about them, literally having the amount of money that's left and the options that's left open. Now, here's where we can continue to work on checking off another one of these boxes. And this is where KJ Drummond, of course, the hottie thing nowadays is, let's go through and let's go ahead and come up with a hypothetical solution for the Cowboys that has no information. It used to be, somebody, an insider would be there and they would find out that, hey, the Cowboys are interested in signing this guy. There are negotiations. And there was actually something behind a possibility of it happening. Nowadays, everything is the proposals that comes out of somebody's ass that they try and tell you, oh, well, here's the perfect move. And it's bullshit. It's bullshit, okay? Nobody really knows. Nobody is you're getting, secret sauce information on it. These are hypothetical, made-up stuff that people believe this is going to happen. The Cowboys are going to go get that one. Be that as it may, we'll touch on this one because KJ Drummond thinks that DJ Reader could be traded for or could be released by the Lions because they ended up drafting some more defensive linemen. That he's gotten a little bit older, and they signed him to a $22 million 2-year deal, and they may look for some cap space. So here we go with this one. After acquiring George Pickens this past week, the Dallas Cowboys have shored up their glaring holes on offensive side of the ball, but what about their defense? They actually have done some work on it. We did end up bringing in Elam, a cornerback that's there. Like I said, Solomon Thomas, Dante Fowler. Of course, we ended up getting Tua, forgive me, the defensive tackle. I mispronounced his name. I'm a name butcher. The other position that went generally ignored this offseason was run-stuffing defensive tackle. The club didn't sign anyone in free agency and then waited until a late day 3 to draft Jay Tola to help fill the run-stuffing role. With former first-round pick Mozzie Smith a big question mark entering his third season, the team could still add a veteran presence with a bona fide skins on the wall in being able to plug the middle. Pro Football Focus Mason Cameron writes about 1 month, one last move for every NFC team. Identifies a potential cut candidate from the Detroit Lions who could fill the void, DJ Reader. Now, understand the Cowboys are famous for bringing in older defensive tackles. We brought in Dontari Poe. We brought in Hankins. They like to get those guys that are older. And the thing about defensive tackles is it's a position that really your first 2 or 3 years are just kind of feeling out and learning. It's really like 4 to 7 when you really start getting in your groove, and you typically are able to play well late. Now, of course, you guys know me. I wanted to go out and get Calais Campbell, but he re-signed with the Arizona Cardinals to finish out his career. Dallas hasn't been afraid to leverage future draft capital this offseason and should consider monitoring other opportunities. The Lions' DJ Reader has been considered a cut candidate and could fit in nicely with the Cowboys, whether through a trade or post-releasing signing. Reader boasts a 91 percentile Pro Football Focus run defense grade over the past 3 years, which is way better than anything that we have going for us right now. Reader, who signed a $22 million contract with the Lions entering 2024, has made over $67 million in his career. Listen, what I made before got nothing to do with what I want to make now, but be that as it may. The majority of that came in his deal with the Cincinnati Bengals, where he played from 2020 to 23, originally drafted by the Houston Texans in 2016. 5th round, the 6'3", 335 interior defender has been strong run defender for almost a decade. But Reader could be a cap casualty as a result of the Lions' 25 offseason. The team signed Roy Lopez, former of the Arizona Cardinals, to a 1-year, $4.7 million deal. Detroit was also able to land Ohio State's Tariq Williams in this year's draft in the first round. The Lions love the interior of their defense, but having 3 nose tackles over 320 pounds feels like a bit of an overkill. Holding up to a potential cut, though, is the fact that had a roster bonus clause that paid him $4 million on the 3rd day of the league year. The club could, however, still save $7 million in cash by releasing him. Detroit would eat $3.7 of dead money on next year's cap if he's released after June 1st. So this may be something that doesn't happen before June 1st, and you may see a lot more activity after June 1st because teams will be able to save money on the cuts. So we're sitting here 3 weeks away from the June 1st cuts. That's when you're going to see a lot of teams say, okay, let's get rid of this guy and we can split up the dead money over 2 years and we'll be in better shape for this year's cap and be able to make some other moves for some of those guys that are out there. Logically, that's a great conclusion on a possibility of the Cowboys bringing him in. Basically, he's got $11 million a year right now on his deal, and you may be able to get him for quite a bit less than the $11 million as a free agent. So who knows if the Cowboys will do that. At the moment, I'm not sure that the Cowboys are looking to make trades to get rid of any more of the draft capital, even though they're going to get 3 more comp picks. It looks like we're going to get 2 5s and a 6, I believe. 2 5s and a 6 for next year, which does give you a little bit more to work with, but I'm not sure that they do that or not. They may just go ahead and wait and say, we're going to take the best defensive tackle possibly, or maybe even not, during free agency. But you can best believe that the Cowboys are in a good position right now and checking the boxes of things that they need to do to get better. The thing that we have to, I keep cautioning everybody, is we need to understand we are starting over. We are starting over. We are bringing in all of these new players that don't know each other's name, with new coaches that don't know each other's name. And there's not much time between here and that first game in September to get everybody all on the same page. It may be one of those cases where the team starts off slow and starts getting into their stride as the season goes on. But tamp your expectations. Let's just kick back and enjoy the ride on this one and not set expectations that if we don't meet, we look at it and we say it's disaster. I'm going to say this season already has been success. The fact that you finally got an organization that's looking and saying, how can we get better, as opposed to how can we maintain? Some people, on the other hand, want to, of course, just trash us. So Shannon Sharp is still doing Nightcap. And, of course, they don't ever have anything good to say about the Cowboys. Skip, let's listen.
Idea of adding George Pickens to their roster, according to Jeff Howe of The Athletic. These were Jeff words exactly. Word leaked during the draft that Pickens was available if anyone wanted him. Some teams polled by The Athletic at the time laughed at the idea of inviting Pickens into their locker room for any price, let alone a second-day draft pick. There wasn't a lot of interest in talking with the Steelers about a trade. Hence, this is why the trade happened after the draft. Nobody was interested.
Now, I also would love to hear the teams that weren't interested. And the team that did laugh or had something to say slick about it. Now, I know the issues that he had on field, but let's talk about what he does on the field. I know we've had small instances of him where he's loafed, where he hasn't blocked, being lazy on,
hadn't run hard,
not running hard. Now, let's talk about the times and when he does play hard and what he can do for you when he gets the ball in his hands. There's a bunch of teams that could actually use that. A bunch of teams that can actually use that.
Yeah.
You know, who don't have anybody.
Ocho. Ocho. You do realize his job is to play hard all the time.
I understand that, but can I tell you something too? Every receiver doesn't play hard all the time.
Ocho, it can't be that obvious.
I know.
See the ball
I'm with you, right? Listen, I'm with you, right? I'm just saying. It's magnified. It's magnified. You know what I'm trying to say. You know what I'm trying to say. But you're right.
But see, the problem that he has is that if that's Randy Moss, he ain't Moss. He ain't Jerry Rice. So you don't get to have that luxury of taking a play
Randy
off.
Was funny with it, boy. Randy was funny with it.
So when George Pickens can give you 23 touchdowns, when he can give you 1,700 yards,
now listen,
take a play off.
Now he's that type of player, though. But you know what it takes to get that? It takes opportunities. It takes the ball. It does. And we understand the quarterback carousel and the issues they had offensively over there where that wasn't the case. He's that type of talent. Now,
you can't start off like that, Ocho.
Huh?
You can't start off like that. You can't be like that your first couple of years. You got to get some seniority under your belt.
Right. Hey,
that's year 5, year 6 after you've been to the Pro Bowl 3 or 4 times. You've been a first team All Pro a couple of times. You can't do that coming out the box.
I know. We were frustrated. I know we were frustrated like a you know what, you know. Mm-hmm. I know he was because you look at people. You look at some of the players. Even you doing. If I think it was you that did the comparison as far from a talent standpoint when it was coming out the draft. You know, I mean, dude, immensely talented. There's just another side. That once we fix that up, he matures a little bit, he's going to be all right. Listen, after that conversation I had with him, he's going to be all right. He's not going to have no issues in Dallas. Because listen, my back against the wall now. You're seeing all the young bulls get paid. They making big money. You need to be a $30, $35 million receiver. You can be that if you show this year in Dallas. The world is watching now. You on the biggest stage, baby. You on the biggest stage. Just go out there, do what you need to do, handle your business, and get your bag in the offseason.
Most receiving yards in the Steelers drafted in the last 20 years. Antonio Brown was a 6th-round draft pick in 2010. He averaged 86.2 yards with the Steelers. He averaged 67.8 with 2 teams after that. Mike Wallace was a round 3 pick in 2009. 64 yards with the Steelers, less than 50 with 4 teams after that. Santonio Holmes, 64 yards with the Steelers, round 1 selection in 2006, 42 yards with 2 teams after he left. Juju, 61 yards with the Steelers, 35 yards, 2 teams after he left the Steelers. George Pickens, round 2, 2022, 59 yards. We'll see what he averaged. Deontay Johnson,
with no quarterback.
2019, a round 3 selection, 57 yards, 31.3, 3 teams after. Sometimes the grass ain't always greener.
Wait,
now,
the
look, the Steelers don't
I
have,
love
one
this.
thing we know about the Steelers,
Yeah.
though, Ocho, they ain't got no problem moving on from a receiver.
They don't. After they get what they want to out of them, they get a whole lot of production out of the one they move on from first now. You know, so they,
I mean, you think about it. Think about who. I mean, Swan, Stallworth, and Hines Ward. All the other receivers been Louis Lips left. Yancey Pigpen left.
Yancey.
Yeah, I mean, think
Did he
about
say
it, Ocho.
Pigpen?
All the other ones.
Did he say
left.
Yancey Thigpen?
Yeah.
Pigpen.
Plex.
Mike Wallace, Emmanuel Sanders, everybody. Obviously, it's the nature of the business.
Oh, Chase, Martavius Bryant, 53 yards, 33 yards a game with the Raiders. Chase Claypool, 52 yards,
Now,
less than 12 yards a game with 2
yeah.
teams.
Also, you have to understand the situation these individuals went to. They went into a different situation. George Pickens is going into a situation where he is a bona fide number 1.
There you go.
Alongside another number 1, where offensively they're going to use him a lot more than these other players were used when they went to the places they went to. Again, and he's also a much, and I mean no disrespect, I got to say that, he's a much better talent and receiver than everybody else you just named too, outside of the Antonio Brown.
There you go.
Antonio Browns.
Yeah, I was gonna say he better than Antonio.
Shit, man, brother Brown.
We're going to leave it right there. But you can see the Cowboys, contrary to what you believe, have actually been putting in the work and, dare I say, have made some good decisions. That's not to say that every single one of them are going to be great. But when you start thinking about how excited we were with moves like bringing in Paris Campbell may not make the roster. When we were excited about, bringing in Miles Sanders, a name Miles Sanders may not make the roster because they went through and said, we've got to at least get something in here. We've got to get some depth or somebody who can play, and then it'll open up the draft for us. And they opened up the draft and said, okay, here, we can check off the offensive line right here. We can check off an edge rusher here. We can check off a cornerback here. And now we still need to check off that wide receiver. I don't think they're finished checking off all the boxes. This team, selectively, aggressively, has been rebuilt. But it's going to take some time. And that's all I have to say about that. I appreciate each and every one of you guys. And we'll see where we go from here. Have a great Mother's Day. Peace out.